Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where magnets run on fire, this is Ballot.
That's right, and it's too bad there is no way to waterproof a magnet other than it just being, a magnet. I'm Patrick Gutfield. Remember when the president was a really old guy who would get confused a lot and seemed older and older the longer he was president? Yeah, he defeated Joe Biden in the last election. Donald Trump gave a speech on an aircraft carrier in Japan where he explained his theory that water destroys magnets, and the entire Navy had to stand there and listen to this. The 79-year-old president was aboard the USS George Washington talking to troops when he launched into a rambling tirade against modern technology. Specifically, he's very upset about magnetic catapults on aircraft carriers. These are the systems that launch planes off the deck at high speed, and they're used on the newest carriers because they're faster and more efficient than the old steam-powered ones. But Trump has a problem with magnets. A big problem. He stood in front of the Navy and said, the new thing is magnets. So instead of using hydraulic, that can be hit by lightning and it's fine. You take a little glass of water, you drop it on magnets, I don't know what's going to happen. Let me repeat that. The President of the United States said he doesn't know what happens when you put water on a magnet, which is concerning since magnets have been around for 2,000 years and are used in, every piece of modern technology, including the MRI machine he just had. Trump then stumbled over his words, failed to complete a coherent sentence, and asked the troops whether they preferred hydraulics or magnets, which is not a question anyone was asking. Then he called out to a top-ranking general for his opinion before announcing, "I'm going to sign an executive order. When we build aircraft carriers, it's steam for the catapults, and it's hydraulic for the elevators. We'll never have a problem." So the president wants to redesign $13 billion aircraft carriers based on his deep misunderstanding of how magnets work. This isn't new. Trump's been waging war against magnets for at least 18 months. In August, he suggested that the global reliance on magnets was a conspiracy orchestrated by China, saying China intelligently went and they sort of took a monopoly of the world's magnets, and nobody needed magnets until they convinced everybody 20 years ago, let's all do magnets. There were many other ways that the world could have gone. Except magnets were first used by the Chinese in 200 BC, so China didn't convince anyone to use magnets 20 years ago. They've been using them for 2,200 years. Back in January 2024, Trump said during a campaign speech in Iowa, "Give me a glass of water, let me drop it on the magnets. That's the end of the magnets." Which is just factually wrong. Magnets work underwater. They work in rain. They work fine. Here's a suggestion for the Navy. Start calling the magnets maganets. That ought to work, unless you spill water on them. Here's the best part. Trump recently underwent an MRI scan that the White House tried to keep quiet. MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging. It's a giant magnet. The medical profession has used MRI scanners since the 1970s. Trump had his brain scanned using a technology he apparently doesn't believe works, and then complained about magnets in elevators. During the speech on the carrier, Trump also said, they spent $993 million on the catapults trying to get them to work. And they had steam, which works so beautifully, and it has for 50 years. I'm going to do an executive order. I'm not going to let them continue to do this. So to be clear, the Navy developed new technology that launches planes faster. Trump thinks water breaks magnets. And now he wants to force the military to go back to steam power because he saw a tractor once. The troops standing there had to listen to their commander-in-chief explain that every tractor and excavator uses hydraulics. So obviously that's what $13 billion aircraft carriers should use too. That's like saying, my lawnmower runs on gasoline, so let's make all rockets run on gasoline. And the best detail? Trump's been on this rant for a year and a half, and nobody has been able to explain to him how magnets work. Not one person in his administration has successfully communicated the scientific principle that water does not destroy magnets. Governor Gavin Newsom is going after Trump's 90,000 square foot bulletproof ballroom, and he's not holding back. So here's what's happening. Trump is building what can only be described as a monument to himself on the White House grounds. This thing is 90,000 square feet. That's bigger than most shopping malls. It's bulletproof, and it's now expected to cost $300 million. $300 million. And they don't even have a completion date yet. Newsom posted on X. While Donald Trump builds his knockoff Versailles on White House grounds, his government shutdown is depriving millions of Californians of federal food assistance. Trump and his lapdog Congress just don't care, period. Knockoff Versailles is pretty good. The real Versailles dates back to 1623 and became the ultimate symbol of royal excess right before the French Revolution. You know, that event where things didn't work out great for the people living in giant gold palaces while everyone else starved. Just a fun historical footnote. And Trump loves that style. Gold leaf everywhere. Gold frames. The whole place looks like a Dubai hotel lobby had a baby with a casino. But wait, it gets better. While this shutdown is happening and people are losing food assistance, Trump flew to Malaysia over the weekend where he was filmed doing his signature robotic dance moves. Picture a 79-year-old man doing the sprinkler in Southeast Asia while Congress argues about whether Americans should eat. Newsom wrote, Donald Trump is literally dancing in Asia while 40 million people lose access to food. Disgusting. During a CBS interview Sunday, Newsom called Trump an invasive species for the country, for the world, which is a pretty creative insult and one I wish my AI writing team had come up with. He's a wrecking ball, not just the symbolism and substance of the East Wing. He's wrecking alliances, truth, trust, tradition, institutions. And now Newsom says Trump's actions are the reason he's giving serious thought to running for president in 2028. He told CNN, everything has changed in terms of my mindset and my focus, my energy, my perspective on the world we're living in. Trump and Trumpism, what he represents and how serious and precious this moment is. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI, which couldn't even come up with the invasive species joke.